Death has always fascinated and mystified humanity, transcending cultural, religious, and scientific boundaries. It is the ultimate unknown, the final frontier that all living beings must eventually confront. While the physical aspects of death, such as biological decay, are well understood, the metaphysical questions of what happens to consciousness after death remain elusive. One intriguing question that has captivated both scientists and philosophers alike is, do we experience time travel when we die? In this extensive exploration, we will delve into the idea of time travel at the moment of death, examining it through the lenses of physics, quantum mechanics, neuroscience, and spirituality. We will analyze how scientific theories like relativity and quantum entanglement intersect with ancient spiritual beliefs and near-death experiences to form a comprehensive understanding of this profound topic. Understanding time, a fundamental concept. Before examining the idea of time travel upon death, it is essential to grasp the nature of time itself. For centuries, time was viewed as an absolute linear progression, an immutable backdrop against which events unfolded. However, modern physics, particularly through Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, has transformed our understanding of time. In 1905, Einstein introduced the world to his special theory of relativity, which posited that the laws of physics are the same for all observers in uniform motion, and that the speed of light is constant, regardless of the observer's frame of reference. The theory revolutionized our understanding of time by showing that it is not an absolute entity, but a flexible dimension that can bend and stretch under certain conditions. Time dilation. One of the most famous consequences of relativity is time dilation. It states that time moves slower for an observer in motion relative to a stationary observer. As objects approach the speed of light, time slows down significantly for them, a phenomenon confirmed by experiments involving high-speed travel and atomic clocks. Gravitational time dilation. Another key aspect of relativity is that gravity can affect the flow of time. The stronger the gravitational field, the slower time passes. This effect has been observed in satellite clocks, which run faster than those on Earth due to the lower gravitational pull in orbit. If time can be stretched and warped in such profound ways under extreme circumstances, what happens to our perception of time at the moment of death? Particularly when the brain experiences severe trauma or is deprived of oxygen. Near-death experiences, a glimpse into time beyond life. Near-death experiences are events reported by people who have come close to death or have been clinically dead before being revived. These individuals often describe vivid, sometimes mystical experiences, including a sense of leaving the body and observing oneself from above, traveling through a tunnel toward a bright light, encountering deceased loved ones or spiritual beings, a feeling of intense peace, love, and interconnectedness. Some also report experiencing a life review, where they relive significant moments from their lives in a seemingly condensed form. This peculiar phenomenon raises the question, is it possible that, at the moment of death, time itself becomes distorted, or that our consciousness experiences a form of time travel? From a scientific perspective, NDEs have been linked to various physiological and neurological phenomena. Lack of oxygen or hypoxia. As the brain is deprived of oxygen, it may start to malfunction, producing vivid hallucinations and altered perceptions of time. Neurochemical responses. The release of endorphins and other chemicals during trauma or death may contribute to the sensations of peace and euphoria described in NDEs. The brain's attempt to process death. Some researchers propose that the brain, in its dying moments, might attempt to make sense of its situation by creating comforting illusions, including visions of an afterlife. However, none of these explanations fully account for the timelessness often reported by those who have undergone NDEs. Many claim that during these experiences, time seemed to lose all meaning, suggesting that consciousness might persist outside the constraints of linear time. The relativity of time implications for death and consciousness. Einstein's general theory of relativity, which builds on the ideas of special relativity, provides further insights into the relationship between time, space, and gravity. According to general relativity, space-time can be curved or warped by massive objects, such as planets and black holes. Black holes and time travel. One of the most fascinating predictions of general relativity is the existence of black holes, regions of space where gravity is so strong that not even light can escape. Black holes warp space-time to such an extreme degree that, theoretically, an observer falling into a black hole would experience time differently compared to someone outside the event horizon. For an external observer, it would appear as if the person falling into the black hole is frozen in time as they approach the event horizon. For the person falling in, however, time would seem to move normally, but they would eventually encounter a point where time and space become indistinguishable, often referred to as the singularity. Could death, particularly from the perspective of the brain, be akin to falling into a black hole, where time dilates and eventually ceases to exist? If consciousness transcends the physical body, as some suggest, might we experience a form of eternal present at the moment of death? The arrow of time and thermodynamics. In physics, the arrow of time refers to the one-way direction in which time appears to move from past to future. This concept is closely tied to the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the entropy or disorder of a system always increases over time. The irreversible nature of this process gives time its forward momentum. However, some physicists argue that time, as we perceive it, might not be fundamental to the universe. Rather, it could be an emergent property of the way we experience reality. If true, this raises profound questions about what happens to time and our perception of it when we die. Quantum mechanics and the nature of time. In the realm of quantum mechanics, the study of matter and energy at the smallest scales, time behaves in ways that defy our everyday understanding. One of the most puzzling phenomena in quantum mechanics is entanglement, where two or more particles become linked in such a way that the state of one particle instantaneously affects the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. This phenomenon seems to violate the classical notion of causality and suggests that there may be connections between events that transcend time and space. Could consciousness be entangled with the universe in a similar way? If so, this could imply that death does not mark the end of our connection to the cosmos, but rather a transition to a different form of existence, where time operates differently. Orchestrated objective reduction, or Orch OR, is a controversial theory proposed by physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. According to Orch OR, consciousness arises from quantum processes within microtubules, tiny structures within brain cells. The theory suggests that consciousness is not simply a byproduct of neural activity, but a quantum phenomenon. If consciousness has a quantum basis, it might not be bound by the same rules that govern the physical world, including the flow of time. Orch OR suggests that upon death, consciousness might not be extinguished, but could persist in some quantum state, potentially allowing for experiences that transcend time as we know it. Negative mass and the possibility of time travel. In physics, negative mass is a hypothetical concept that arises from certain solutions to Einstein's equations of general relativity. Objects with negative mass, if they exist, would exhibit strange behaviors, such as moving in the opposite direction when pushed. While negative mass has never been observed, it is an intriguing possibility because of its implications for time travel. Negative mass could theoretically stabilize wormholes, hypothetical tunnels through space-time that could allow for faster-than-light travel. If wormholes exist, they might also provide a means for traveling through time. Could death be a transition through a kind of wormhole leading to another dimension or plane of existence where time operates differently? While this remains purely speculative, it is a fascinating possibility to consider. Spiritual perspectives on death, time, and eternity. Across cultures and religions, death is often viewed not as an end, but as a transition to another state of existence. Many spiritual traditions propose that the soul or consciousness continues after physical death, often in a realm that is not bound by the constraints of time as we understand it. In Hinduism, the concept of moksha refers to liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth, known as samsara. Achieving moksha is seen as the ultimate goal of life, and it represents a state of eternal consciousness beyond time and space. Similarly, Buddhism teaches that nirvana is a state of enlightenment where the individual transcends suffering and the cycle of birth and death. Nirvana is often described as a timeless state of existence where the boundaries of self, time, and space dissolve. In the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, death is not seen as the end of existence, but rather a passage to an afterlife that transcends the material world. Time in the afterlife is often portrayed as eternal, either in a state of reward, heaven, or punishment, hell. In these belief systems, time as we experience it in the physical world ceases to exist in the same linear form. Christianity speaks of eternal life, where the soul either resides with God in heaven or is separated from God in hell. Some Christian theologians describe the afterlife as a state where time is irrelevant, a continuous present or eternal now, where all souls experience eternity in the presence of God. Islam similarly describes Akhira, the afterlife, as a realm where time is vastly different from earthly time. Islamic eschatology includes the concept of barzakh, an intermediary state between death and the Day of Judgment, where the soul may experience events that seem timeless or outside of the constraints of temporal existence. These spiritual perspectives suggest that consciousness may transcend the linear passage of time at death, implying that experiences of the afterlife could occur in a dimension where time either stretches infinitely or collapses into a singular eternal moment. Philosophers have long pondered the nature of time and what happens to it at death. Plato and Aristotle, for instance, held divergent views on time, with Plato considering it a mere shadow of the eternal forms, while Aristotle saw time as a measure of change. The distinction between chronos, which is linear time, and kairos, the right opportune moment, offers a philosophical framework for understanding how time might function differently in states of heightened consciousness, such as near-death or post-death experiences. The existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger viewed death as the ultimate encounter with time. According to Heidegger, human existence, or Dasein, is fundamentally tied to time, and awareness of our mortality shapes how we perceive and live within the bounds of time. Death, for Heidegger, represents a profound shift in the way we understand time, as it forces us to confront the finite nature of our existence. Could it be that death offers a doorway to a form of existence where time is no longer finite or linear? In line with these philosophical considerations, several theories propose that time is not linear, and that death could be a transition to an existence where time is experienced in a non-linear fashion. For instance, if consciousness survives death and exists in a dimension outside the physical realm, it might perceive time as a fluid or multidimensional construct, not bound by the linear progression that governs life on Earth. Eternalism, for example, posits that time is not a flowing entity, but rather an unchanging dimension where the past, present, and future coexist simultaneously. From this perspective, after death, the individual might experience all moments of time at once, existing outside the flow of chronological time altogether. Another concept in physics that complements this view is the block universe theory, which suggests that time is like a block where the past, present, and future are equally real. If this is the case, death may not be an end, but rather a shift in our perception of reality, allowing us to travel through time in ways unimaginable during life. One of the most pressing questions about time travel at death revolves around how the brain perceives time during the dying process. As the brain undergoes the various stages leading to death, there is evidence to suggest that time may slow down or even become distorted. A 2013 study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences showed that in the moments before death, there is a surge of activity in the brain, particularly in the cerebral cortex, the area responsible for thought and perception. This heightened state of brain activity could explain the experiences reported in near-death experiences, including altered perceptions of time. Research has also demonstrated that the brain can slow down time during traumatic events such as accidents or life-threatening situations. This phenomenon, often described as time slowing down, might be related to increased activity in the amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, which leads to heightened awareness and altered time perception. Could the brain, in its final moments, experience an even more profound time dilation, leading to the sensation of timelessness often reported in near-death experiences? Another aspect to consider is the role that memory plays in shaping our experience of time. Some neuroscientists suggest that the experience of reliving one's life in a rapid succession of images, as described in near-death experiences, may be due to the brain's retrieval of episodic memories in its final moments. Since memory and time are intimately linked, the disintegration of normal brain function during death could result in a non-linear, fragmented experience of time, where past events seem to occur all at once or in no particular order. In both science fiction and some speculative scientific theories, the concept of time loops has been explored as a way to understand how death and time travel might intersect. In these scenarios, time does not follow a linear path, but instead folds back on itself, creating a cyclical pattern where events repeat endlessly or loop back to the beginning. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously posited the idea of eternal recurrence, where all events in life are destined to repeat infinitely. If time is cyclical rather than linear, death could be seen as simply the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. From this perspective, time travel at death could involve not moving forward into an unknown future, but looping back to the beginning of life, creating an eternal recurrence of existence. In cosmology, there is a theory of the cyclical universe, which suggests that the universe undergoes an endless series of expansions and contractions, the Big Bang followed by the Big Crunch. If the universe itself is subject to time loops, could human consciousness be similarly caught in this cycle? Death, then, might not represent an exit from the flow of time, but a reset in a never-ending loop of cosmic rebirth. As we advance in the realms of artificial intelligence and digital consciousness, new possibilities are emerging that challenge our understanding of life, death, and time. In the future, technology may offer unprecedented ways to extend life or preserve consciousness beyond the physical body, potentially altering our experience of time at the moment of death. The concept of mind uploading, the idea that human consciousness could be transferred to a digital medium, raises fascinating questions about the nature of time. If consciousness can exist independently of the biological brain, it may also escape the limitations imposed by time as we know it. Digital consciousness could, in theory, experience time in an entirely different way, perhaps even accessing multiple timelines or dimensions simultaneously. Some futurists speculate that artificial intelligence could one day assist in creating simulations of the afterlife or even allow us to manipulate our perception of time. For example, an advanced AI system might be able to simulate an eternal life experience by controlling the flow of time within a virtual environment. This could offer a form of synthetic time travel, where consciousness is no longer bound to the linear progression of time and instead experiences multiple possible realities. The question of whether we experience time travel when we die touches on some of the most profound mysteries of human existence. While science offers tantalizing clues through relativity, quantum mechanics, and neuroscience, we are far from definitive answers. Similarly, spiritual beliefs provide comfort in the idea of an afterlife where time transcends the linear progression we know. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of this exploration is the notion that death may not be an end, but a transformation, an entry into a different mode of experiencing time, or perhaps even a timeless state altogether. As humanity continues to probe the boundaries of life, consciousness, and the universe, the enigma of death and time travel remains a powerful and enduring subject of curiosity. Whether through scientific advancements, spiritual revelations, or future discoveries in artificial intelligence, the pursuit of understanding what happens at the moment of death is likely to continue inspiring both awe and wonder.